Hello, folks. My name is Colby Evans, and welcome to the very first episode of the Start and Park podcast. On Twitter, I run the ARCA NASCAR Start and Park car account, and I thought, why not? Got nothing else to do during this pandemic, so why not start a podcast? That's what everybody else is doing these days. Basically, I work with NASCAR teams and ARCA teams on the lower budget side, and it's just a lot of fun. I'm going to try to do this all in one take, so let's just get right into it. We'll be talking about starting parks on the ARCA and NASCAR side, and also stories that are going on in NASCAR today. So our first story is the ARCA race this weekend, which is taking place at Toledo. It is a ARCA East and Main Series showdown race, but sadly has only drawn 18 cars. And well, they shouldn't be shocked why, because I'm looking at the entry list right now on my computer. 18 fucking cars. Now, for a track like Toledo, that's not the worst entry list, but obviously, you look at what ARCA was 10 years ago, and they could easily do better than that. And mainly that's because, for some reason, ARCA has put the entry blanks on their website, on the competitor site. And I'm looking at it right now. First place, $5 fucking grand. Seriously, $5 grand. You expect even teams like Venturini to make it on just $5 grand. Whereas you got teams like Andy Hillenberg and Brad Smith who don't even have fucking haulers to survive on what? $900 for 16th? Last place in this race pays $800. The entry fee alone is $250. And NASCAR and ARCA frickin' wonder why the series is dying a slow death. I love ARCA. I always have and I always will. I've always been a fan of the back markers. Still miss James Hilton to this day. God rest you, James. But $800 for frickin' last place is utter bull. Nonetheless, ARCA always seems to put on a decent show despite the short fields. And when you look at that race at I-44 last week, what a hell of a race. And that had 14 cars with 3 starting parks. But yeah, nonetheless, NASCAR and ARCA, they need to up these purses, or, I give it 5 years before we maybe lose ARCA. Which sucks because, teams like Wayne Peterson Motorsports and Brad Smith Motorsports have given me unbelievable opportunities to learn this craft and what I love so much in NASCAR and ARCA. But yet, despite these payouts, I've been to multiple races, and I can just not tell you guys how hard people like Wayne Peterson, Andy Hillenberg, and Brad Smith work every single week for such little profit. I've worked with Wayne, and let me tell you, he's crazy, but he's one of the coolest guys you'll ever meet. Brad Smith, down-to-earth guy. Andy Hillenberg, fucking badass. And to all the people out there who fucking crap on those 3 guys, shut up, okay? You have no freaking idea how hard these guys work every single week, okay? Really bothers me when you got these no-name 30-follower accounts on Twitter who think they know everything about ARCA and the fact that they just think these guys need to park it. That's why I hate Norm Benning getting so much flack in the truck series. Yeah, his equipment's old. He can't afford much good equipment. So what? He's 68. If he still wants to race, let him race, okay? Yeah, but the ARCA race this weekend should be good. Like I said, we got 18 cars entered, but the way it's looking at the entry list on my computer, I'm only seeing probably about 2 to 3 starting parks. That being the 10 of Owen Smith and Brad. Usually Brad doesn't run the short tracks because he has trouble keeping up minimum speed. And, well, you just don't want to hurt the car at a short track because it's very easy to get a dent. Other than that, though, we got a lot of strong entries. We got the 2 Max Siegel entries entering. We've got quite a few entries from Venturini, including Mason Diaz from the east side. So despite there being only 18 cars, I think just like I-44 guys, I think we're in for a hell of a race on Saturday. So luckily I will be able to see that race. And like I said, it should be a good race. And ARCA did announce that it will count for Main and East championship points. And right now, the ARCA point standings, give me a second, let's get to the ARCA website here. It's loading, stupid computer. Right now, our ARCA standings are as this. First place is Michael Self, second place is Brett Holmes. They are separated by just 1 point. Sadly, it's just going to come down to them as third place Hailie Deegan is 47 points behind. The one joke that goes around ARCA is that Brad Smith, a guy who runs half the full races, despite nobody knowing how hard he works, is 8th in points. And that's just dedication. He's 8th in points. He's 32 points ahead of the next car behind him, which is Chandler Smith. But I think, Brad Smith being able to finish top 10 in points does show a little bit of ARCA's flaws, but also show what dedication to the series can get you. Despite paying like shit and running their competitors pretty much out of business, the fact that they can't keep up their damn payments. All right, moving on to our next story. Pretty much the only start and park that has been in Xfinity all season has been the 66 out of MBM Motorsports, which has mostly ran this year with Stephen Light, who, might I add, is one of the nicest guys I've ever met. But this weekend, it looks like the start and park will be driven by Timmy Hill, although judging by the crew chief that is listed, which is, let's go up to the crew chief's list on Racing Reference. Shout out to Racing Reference, by the way. They have the best information when it comes to this stuff. It looks like it's Clinton Cram, another hard worker for MBM. So hopefully that means they are running the full race and we won't have any start and parks this weekend, which makes my job a lot easier. But obviously, mostly this year the 66 has start and parked. Despite Xfinity expanding to 40 cars, usually they get around 36 to 37, which again is good because, sadly, even though Morgan's team did return for Darlington, they only received $4,500 for 38th. And when you account in the cost of a set of tires, which is a little over $2,000, $2,200 entry fee, and travel fees, you're not making a net profit. And that's why we haven't seen Morgan Shepherd. Update on Morgan Shepherd. I have been in touch with his wife. She's a very nice lady, but doesn't look too good. But again, wishing for the best that, come Atlanta or whatever the second race of the season is next year, we do see that 89 Racing with Jesus Chevrolet back on track. I think we all want to see that. But yeah, pretty much the 66 has been the only start and park this season. Rarely have only other cars start and parked. But yeah, you can't blame Carl. He's a smart businessman. That's why I love working with him. It's usually the car that I work on. It's kind of fun working on the start and park. Because at least you get loaded up by the time the race is over. So yeah, that's kind of the synopsis of all that. Last week we recently had Darlington, which obviously is one of my favorite races of the year. Unfortunately, the fans, well, they continue to vote yes on this dumb package. The race wasn't the best. It was okay for Darlington standards. It just sucks seeing the cars go obviously so much slower than they used to be. The Xfinity race defined Darlington on what it should be, and the Cup race, even if they were like 650, would be a lot better. Cup race at 650 horsepower would have been a lot better. But it just makes me laugh that people think that throwbacks like Chase Elliott and Alex Bowman's were the best, when clearly J.J. Yaley and his Kenny Irwin throwback and Timmy Hill with his Phil Parsons throwback easily had the best ones. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, the Cup finish, that was just hard racing. Anybody who says that Martin did anything wrong or Chase did anything wrong, they have no idea. They're just so toxic. NASCAR Twitter in general is toxic. I don't really need to talk much about Darlington because that's not what this podcast is all about. But we do have some news that we should get into. NASCAR is re-innovating Auto Club. TobyChristie.com reported, along with other major news sources, that NASCAR is exploring converting Auto Club from a 2-mile track into a short track. Thank God. Because the track itself was definitely going to need repaving within the next 2.5 years. Probably within the next year anyway. It was breaking up so badly. But yeah, I hope it works out for the best. It's kind of funny that they actually tested a next-gen car there, and all that data they collected is now useless. But I'm all in favor of this. Obviously I think we need more short tracks. I'm one of those stupid guys on Twitter who said more short tracks, but you got to admit, there's really never been a good race at Auto Club. Yes, we have good racing for a couple of laps, but it gets pretty boring. Right now, they're saying that it should be ready by the 2023 season if the plans are approved. So it's not confirmed yet, it looks like, but more than likely they will go ahead with it. Still wish they would go to Iowa, but I actually do understand the reasons of why they are not. Does suck, though. Some new news on the truck entry list, surprisingly. It looks like Niece Motorsports has a new driver of the 45 this weekend, which is Trevor Bayne. Trevor Bayne, never really liked him. As a driver and as a guy. A couple of times I met him on the track, he was kind of a dick. But I don't really like the move. Ty Majeski's a great driver, great guy, really good on the short tracks. I think the one thing that GMS leaving, or not really leaving, but losing their support for Niece has really hurt Niece. You know, running 3 full-time trucks with no GMS support now, that's why you're not seeing them running as good as they did the year before, which is sad because Al Niece has put a lot of effort into that team, but does suck to see a good driver like Majeski get shafted for, in my opinion, a true NASCAR bust. Trevor Bayne, you know, a one-win wonder. Hopefully Niece does answer Toby Christie's questions, because I think all of us, including me, are wanting to know why, but I doubt we'll ever get that. Going into our next story, again, all these from my buddy, TobyChristie.com. Matt Kenseth said he probably won't return to drive in NASCAR in 2021. Who could fucking blame him? If you listen to his radio, you can audibly hear him crapping all over this package. And I don't blame him. You know, as a guy who was old school, and he retired when they were still running the 2018 package at Homestead last year when they got that really good top 10 finish. And I guarantee you, when he returned, I don't think he expected it to be this bad, and he has not really run that good. Outside of his second place finish, he's pretty much ran about where that 42 car usually runs. I think people have really underestimated Kyle Larson and how he took that 42 car back to prominence, but I don't really need to get into Larson and all that crap. But yeah, we're going to miss Matt, but hey, he's almost 50, and I don't think he'll be retired for good. He still races late models from time to time. I'm sure he'll run more late model races in short tracks. He probably won't even be done driving the Cup Series. I'm sure we'll see him in Daytona 500s in the future. But the likelihood of him driving a full-time season like this, 2021 is pretty much it. So, yeah, that's kind of sad for a legend. But, hey, like I said, could you really blame him? I don't blame him. You know, I mean, he's not ran that good. The package is not suiting him. You know, he's a guy who grew up, go as hard as you can, and not max out on throttle halfway down the front straightaway. So, wish nothing but the best to Matt and his family, and hopefully we do see him back at NASCAR again, because he's a great guy, great driver, and I think he's always one of the most forgotten legends in NASCAR is Matt Kenseth. People don't consider him a legend when he's done so much, but, you know, that's just people, they're dumb. Also, another shout out to Norm Benning. Norm Benning Sr. sadly passed away a couple of days ago, so thoughts and prayers are with Norm and his family. I can't imagine what it's like losing your father, but Norm was 68, so at least his father was able to live, hopefully into his 80s, which I hope he lived a good life. He was a great race car driver himself, and obviously that's where Norm got his passion for race car driving. It's a sad state, though, you know. It's never good to see somebody pass away like that. I just hope Norm is doing okay. And hopefully he's in good spirits for this race this weekend in Richmond. Speaking of the Richmond race, it has been also reported by Toby Christie that the 17 of David Reagan DGR Crosley team has bought in the owner points of the 7 team, All Out Motorsports. Now, personally, never liked Corbin Forrester, always thought he was a prick. So, to see him sell his owner points is kind of a blessing. Never liked him, ever. Poor David Reagan's tried to attempt a couple of races this season, and just because of the max field sizes, he hasn't made it. But he did great at Darlington, and we all know David Reagan's a good driver. He just got stuck at a mid-pack team in Front Row Motorsports. He was just brought up too early, even at a point in 2009 when Roush was okay, but they were starting to lose it. We got 36 trucks entered. We got the return of the CMI Motorsports team with both entries, the 49 and the 83. Josh Bilicki is in the 33 this week, replacing Barnhill. Ryan Huff is going to be driving the 41, which is the Dawson Cram entry, which was formerly the Boyd Long entry. Also, quick shout out to my buddy Timmy Hill. 9th place. Hell of a call by that team last weekend. I don't know if it was Timmy or Greg Eli, the crew chief, but hell of a call to stay out and get that top 10 finish. Also, another shout out. Baby Hill is on the way. Congratulations to Lucy and Timmy. Can't wait to see the baby next year, and hopefully with working with MBM, I'll get to see in real life. Never know. But yeah, 36 trucks at Richmond. Trucks, I believe, haven't raced at Richmond since 2004, so should be a good race. So yeah, that should be a good race. And here's the biggest story that I wanted to talk about is people crapping on the stragglers. I call them the stragglers. They're the cars that usually don't run higher than about 28th place. The cars that before practice and qualifying got canceled would practice and qualify and pretty much race below 30th. And those cars would usually be the Spire entry, Tommy Baldwin, MBM 66, and the Rick Ware Premium entries. And I'll even throw in the Gaunt brothers because they're not really all that competitive either. People need to shut up on crapping on them. They have no idea how hard Rick Ware works and what Rick Ware Racing meets this sport. You'd have the fans. If they didn't enter and we only had 35 cars, you'd have the fans say, "Oh, well, you know, there's only 35 cars entered. Look how bad NASCAR is." Well, Rick Ware does show up. 40-car field. "Oh, look how many slow cars. NASCAR's a joke." What do you guys want? Personally, I'd rather have a full 40-car field with a bunch of stragglers than a 33-car field with no stragglers. And they're more fun to watch anyway. You know, Rick Ware Racing, I've been to the track, I've been in the Cup Garage. They work so hard. MBM, probably in my opinion the hardest working team next to BJ McLeod's team. They work the hardest. And Spire Motorsports, they're a joke? Not really. They're just doing the best they can. You guys can freaking shut up about shitting on these guys. I've been in the garage. I know how hard these guys work. And let me tell you, these guys work 2 to 3 times harder than those other teams. Just because the cars look nice doesn't mean it's an easygoing ride. They put hours and more hours of hard work than those big teams do just to get that car to the track and finish 30th. Nobody knows how hard it is except them. And it's been an honor to work with them, and I hope it continues to go along. But it just pains me to see every week these Twitter accounts with, like I said, 30 followers saying, "Why is Rick Ware on the track?" Because they fucking love racing, alright, you dipshit? It's that simple. They love racing. Okay? If you don't love racing, you're not going to race. Rick Ware's been in the sport for over 20 years. Yes, he hasn't been all that competitive, but look what he's done to the Truck Series, Xfinity Series, and Cup Series. He's put full race rides and starting parks, but he's done a great job. He's put multiple drivers in cars. He's given great guys chances that they wouldn't think they would have gotten. And they've gotten some great luck out of it. Look what he's done with my boy J.J. Yaley. J.J. Yaley is the greatest example of a guy who just needed more time to develop. I can't tell you how many times I hate seeing people shit on J.J. Yaley, and he freaking finishes top 25 and sometimes even top 20 in a Rick Ware Racing entry. I think J.J. Yaley at 44 is, honestly, if you put him in one of the better cars, he could easily go out there and win. He was just a case of a driver who was brought up too quickly and was shafted too quickly. Because by 2008, when he was with Hall of Fame Racing, let's face it, Hall of Fame Racing in 08 was basically like the Gaunt brothers. Hell, they even had the same number. But nonetheless, JJ, wish him the best of luck. And like I said, for people shitting on Rick Ware, MBM, Spire, Tommy Baldwin, I think that's all of them, shut up. You have no idea how hard they work. And unless you're really working behind the scenes, and if you want them to be more competitive, you're more than welcome to give them the money for better engines and equipment. It's that simple. Oh, boy. But like I said, I explained at the beginning of the podcast, I've actually been thankful enough to work behind the scenes with some of these guys, such as Brad Smith, Wayne Peterson, Carl Long, and Morgan Shepherd. And it's just been a hell of a fun. Crew guys are a little tough on me, but hey, they're supposed to be. It's not going to be a cakewalk. I'm just some redhead from Iowa who's trying to get experience and turn this into a full-time job. These guys aren't going to take it easy on me, and I'm glad they're not. I've been lucky enough to make some good friends. Sebastian Laforgue, Chris Pinelli, Clinton Cram, Steve Idle are all good friends of mine up the track. They recognize me. Now, obviously, they don't take me as seriously, and they shouldn't. I'm not as experienced as they are. But I'm thankful enough that they're giving me the chance to work with their team and gain experience. And it's an unbelievable opportunity. And like I said, on the ARCA side, Wayne Peterson, it's more fun really working with Wayne because you get to work on the car and then you get to hear his war stories. And let me tell you something. I really wish I could have Wayne on this show to explain some of his war stories. It is the freaking best. Looks like my battery's going to die. Quick break. And we're back. Sorry, my phone was about to die. So yeah, like I said, war stories with Wayne are the freaking best. You work your ass off, and it's just kind of funny, It really makes you appreciate the opportunities I've gotten with MBM and Carl having a nice air-conditioned hauler to go into because, let me tell you, on those hot days when all you have is an air-conditioned hauler, sorry, I messed that up, an open trailer, it's not a lot of fun. And where they have nice gourmet meals, we have Subways, we have thrown together sandwiches, we have rotisserie hot dogs. But hey, it just makes it more fun at the end of the day. It makes it more rewarding. Like I said, some fun experiences, but even though I'm only 19 and I've only been to a couple of races, I've also had some bad experiences. Case in point, Kansas of just a couple of months ago. Boy, that was a mess. Go back to that first race with Norm Benning. We were just going to start in Park, Kansas, get ready for the second race. We were going to run about 80 laps. I was going to come in for fuel at about 40. And it was so hot that day. I almost went down about 3 times. And the officials were really concerned about me. I think they actually had 2 of them in our box just to check on me. And I have a black Levine suit that I bought from them. I put it on, and yeah, sure enough, I went down before we even fueled, and it was embarrassing. It was just a mess. It was embarrassing because you don't want to embarrass your driver like that. You want to be able to have the stamina to keep going, and I'm only 19, and it's just embarrassing. Nonetheless, I was fine. Was able to return for the next race, and then Saturday. And honestly, that's too long of a conversation to go into. It really is. Because, oh boy, when it came down to tires, not having enough crew guys, I was not cleared to go over the wall. They wouldn't let me. We only had 2 guys going over the wall. We didn't have a fuel guy. We had to get a fuel guy, and then when we did have the fuel guy, I didn't have the can locked up, and he spilled fuel over himself. I mean, it couldn't have went any worse, and somehow we still finished 25th. But yeah, it was just a mess. It was a mess, but at the end of the day, you're still learning, and even though it was a bad experience, you still take that experience, and I've put it into what I know today, and like I said, this is the dream. This is the job I want to do for a living. Fun experiences, like I said, got to go to Road America. Showed you guys a picture on the Starting Park account. Was able to finally meet the legend himself, Robbie Gordon. Badass. Got to do my first spotting gig for Brad Smith at Iowa, which, let me tell you, is harder than hell when you're a lap car. Outside, 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 inside, going 3 wide. Yeah. Oh, boy. It's just a mess at the end of the day. But, hey, the mess is the dream. You know, and some people's dream is a simple office job. My dream is getting under a car and getting down and dirty. However you guys want to interpret that. Not much other stories in the news. SRX, even though there's nothing to do with Starting Parks on that, figured I would say, looking forward to it. Wish Tony and Ray Evernham nothing but the best on that deal. I can't wait for it. I think if they really want to have somebody good, though, there, God, what's one guy that I think we should have there? They already picked Bobby Labonte, which was one guy I wanted. Terry Labonte is too old. I got nothing. I could see Dale Jr. going to it, but I don't think those kind of cars would just work out for him. But yeah, kind of scrolling through NASCAR Twitter right now, you see just a bunch of fun tweaks, but a lot of shocking tweets. NASCAR Twitter is one of the most toxic places on the internet. Oh, boy. Oh, and if it looks like I'm shaking on camera, my leg shakes for some reason, so hopefully that doesn't make it look any weirder than it already does. And yes, I've got a mullet, but it's not. I haven't combed it yet, so it looks like garbage. But yeah, like I said, got a lot of buddies in the business. Got a lot of buddies on here. You know, I'll give a shout out to Brockbeard Last Car, one of my favorite websites. Gotten to know Brockbeard pretty good on here. Hopefully I can beat him in real life at the track one day. Then I'll give a shout out to Timecard100, aka at NASCAR Catholic, I believe, I think so. Together we try our best to find images of Starting Parks, and we like to talk about Starting Parks. He runs the NASCAR number site, which I will put a link, I believe, in the description, if I know how to do it. But yeah, he does a good job. Yeah, and like I said, just nothing really on NASCAR today. It's just Wednesday, so it's kind of midweek. I'll give a shout out to the Dale Jr. download with Ernie Irvan. Should be awesome. And like I said, this is just a debut episode of the Starting Park podcast, so hopefully maybe we can get a guest on sometime. Maybe we could get Andy Hillenberg on the podcast. That'd be awesome, right? Maybe Brad Smith. Hell, maybe we can even get Wayne Peterson on the podcast. Maybe even Carl Long, but that guy's a busy guy, so I doubt it. Anyway, go back to our list of notes. Picks for this weekend. Starting Park picks, well, there's none. Unless you throw in the ARCA race. The good news about 2020 NASCAR is we really haven't seen many Starting Parks, and as much as I love seeing them, I don't want to see them. You don't want to see Starting Parks. You want to see 40 trucks, 40 Xfinity cars, and 40 Cup cars out there running the full race. Thankfully, with the charter system, comes with the rule you cannot start and park. And I think if you do, you get fined, or you don't get any prize money. But this week, all 36 trucks will attempt the full race, and we will have 37 on Friday. Yeah, Friday. And then 36 on Saturday, as the 54 of Kyle Busch is in his last Xfinity race of the year. But yeah, so as for picks, you know, even though it's a Starting Park, still got to cheer for the big guys. Truck race, I'm going with my boy Brett Moffitt. You know, I've met him dozens of times. He's from Iowa. I'm from Iowa, so got to cheer the guy. Timmy Hill, top 10 hopefully, starting 15th. Xfinity race, don't really have a favorite in there. Allgaier, I guess. Don't really cheer for Xfinity guys. The top tier guys usually have more cheer for MBM. Hopefully they have good runs. Obviously the Cup race, my two guys, Keselowski and Truex. So, not really much there, but obviously you always got to make your picks because you got to cheer your favorite drivers. wrapping up here. Thank you guys for enjoying this first episode. And if I can, I'd like to give a shout out to the sponsors who support my favorite low budget teams. They're not sponsoring me. I just want to give them a shout out to thank them for sponsoring my favorite teams. Jacob Companies, roofclaim.com, RED, Remember Everyone Deployed, Crash Claims R Us, Smith Built Homes, Garrison Homes, NASCAR Low Budget Teams, Henshaw Automation. Let's see here. Where's the other ones? Thought I put a bigger list out. H&H Transportation. And I think that is all of them. Oh, no, and Motorsports Safety Group. The last one I'll give a shout out for Rayon Brothers Racing, another hard-working truck team who I wish I could work for, but obviously, they got their own experience, guys. Anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed the first episode of the Start and Park podcast. Like, subscribe, stay tuned for more. Hopefully next time the podcast will be a little bit longer. This was just a debut episode to see how it would go. Yeah, and always, just like Start and Park, stay overheated. Bye, guys.